Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Dina and today is January the 15th, and if you can see right over here, I have moved my cross stitching over to my sewing desk for a little bit to clear off my stitching table. It is completely empty now. And the reason for that is in a few moments I will have 3 ladies in my home who are part of a group from my church called the Naughty Knitters. And they crochet and knit wonderful gifts for people in need. And I would love to participate in that, but I don't know how to crochet or knit. So today I am having my first crochet lesson. I'm a little nervous. I haven't crocheted anything since I was 8 years old, and I think my mother taught me 1 stitch to do around a baby blanket to help her out. And that's the only crocheting I have ever done, and I've never knit. So they recommended that I learn to crochet first, that it might be easier for me. So that's what we're going to do today. So I'll come back later today if I have the energy and I'll let you know how it goes. Hi, good evening. This is the result of my lesson today. I was taught a chain stitch and then some sort of half double and then a double crochet. And I've done each of those here with varying degrees of success. So now I've decided that practice is what I need to do. So I've bought this today for a baby blanket. I have 36 inches and I've made 2. I did my chain stitch to start, and now I have 2 rows of crochet. And it takes a little while. I'm very slow at it, but I will tell you, it was fun. Hello everyone, welcome back. This is Dina and I am here for an update on my most recent WIP. I am working on the Year of Celebrations by Kathy Haberman, and this is what her newly re-released pattern looks like, where she's got the whole year on one pattern. Thank you, Kathy, for doing that. It's awesome. So today I was working on February, the little Valentine's, getting it ready for next month. And the reason that I started this week was to participate in the Now I Know My ABC sale on Cross Stitch Finish Line. So this is my February. And there's January. So I'm going to be working these on this piece of fabric so that they all match, and then I'm going to cut them apart and finish them very similarly to what Kathy has shown us here. But this fabric is a 32 count Belfast. It is oaken, and I think it has a beautiful variegation. I was gonna sit back and let you see. So each one of these will have a little tiny bit of difference in the background. I am using DMC. I did have the called for Classic Colorworks Snowball for this one. So the white, be helpful if I show you the right side, right? The white portions in the sun and the hearts are actually Classic Colorworks Snowball, which is called for on the piece. Thanks for letting me share that with you. I have started crocheting a blanket, a baby blanket. When I have enough of it done, I'll share it with you. I think. We'll see. I was telling one of my friends that was teaching me that it was certainly a humbling experience to try to learn a new craft like that. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But for now, that's what I have to share with you. And so I'm going to let you get back to stitching, and I'll talk to you soon. Happy stitching, everyone. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. This is Dina, and today is Thursday, January 24th. I'm here today for a couple of things. I want to give you a WIP update, and I want to let you know kind of how I've progressed on this WIP. And then I want to talk to you a little bit about my cross-stitch journal. This is the WIP. If you've been following me at all, you know this is Ashley's Roses. And I started working on her July 1st of 2017. And I started her to participate in 2 patriotic sales in 2 different Facebook groups. And I've been working on her in a rotating basis ever since then. And this past week, there was a Mirabilia on the Wall sale, and I participated in it. And I had actually planned to stitch Nantucket Rose for that. And I was working on Ashley's Roses for my rotation this month, and I got into these big blocks of color in that white skirt. And then I started working on this heavy confetti over here in this plaid, because those plaids are multiple colors of blue and green and then peach and pink. So I started working on that, and I was making such good progress. I decided to just keep on going with Ashley's Roses through the sale at least. And the sale ended yesterday, and I stopped stitching this morning at 1 a.m. because I was determined to finish her. So I did. Here's Ashley's Roses. And I just think she's lovely, absolutely lovely. And I want to tell you a little bit about her, about stitching her. This is the most unusual color combination I think I've ever done on a Mirabilia, because these pinks, these beautiful, you know, rich pinks and hot pink are actually paired with these melon colored oranges. You know, they're a melon color, but they're still not pink. They're more orange. In the skirt, you've got that combination again of pink and orange together, and then you've got this blue and kind of a teal blue and then a green. Well, I thoroughly enjoyed that. It was so different, and it's very springish. When I actually started her, as I said, I started her for 4th of July sales, and that was because of the red, white, and blue at the bottom of the skirt. I felt like that looked patriotic. And also, believe it or not, it kind of reminded me of a summer picnic tablecloth. Isn't that a terrible thing to say about this beautiful girl? But it just kind of brought those feelings of the summertime and having family picnics and, you know, family reunions and things like that. It was just so pretty, I felt like. And I've thoroughly enjoyed it. The other thing I want to mention is this fabric. This is Ophelia. It's a 32 count Joblin. And I think you're getting a pretty true color. It is splotchy pink and yellows, which really to me looks great with this peach and pink pattern. I think it just pulls it right out. It is a under the sea fabric, and this is half of it. When I was really just getting started back into stitching again, I had just noticed and through FlossTube about these beautiful hand-dyed fabrics, and this was one of the earlier ones I ordered, and I wasn't familiar with the sizes yet, so I ordered twice this size. And as I began measuring it, I realized that I could get 2 Mirabilias on this. So I have another half of this Ophelia, and it is kitted up with another Mirabilia called Gathering Eggs. And I hope to do that later on, maybe in 2020. So thank you for letting me share Ashley's Roses with you. I was tickled to death that I was able to finish her this month. And that brings me to an amazing piece of information, and that is this is my 5th finish for the month of January. Now, I don't anticipate being able to replicate that anymore this year. I think part of it is just how the timing fell. You know, when at where I had my pieces, they were close enough to being finished, and I did some smalls. And I don't usually do a lot of smalls. I'm just getting into that. And so I was able to get some finishes in my Afghan that I'm working on, and I was able to start the monthly series, Year of Celebration, so I got a couple of those done. So this month has been an unusual month for getting finishes. I don't anticipate that to be quite that many going forward. If it is, that'll be great, but I don't anticipate that. But I am pretty stoked about it, that I've already got 5 for this year. Okay, the other thing I wanted to share with you involves my planner, the way that I sort of keep track of all my information. And so if you'll let me pause you for just a second, I'll go put her on the ironing board to keep her nice and flat since I've already pressed her. And I'll grab my planner and be right back with you. Hold on one second. Okay. I do like to plan. I'm a kindred spirit with Sarah, Stitchin' Mommy. She loves to plan, and she talks with us on her videos about her planning and her planning process. And I probably do as much planning, but I do it behind the scenes a lot more. So I thought it would be fun just to show you how I track what I do, and see if it sparks any ideas for any of you. I love seeing what you do. I enjoy it very much, and that helps me, you know, to refine mine and my processes, and go from there. So part of this process I started in the very beginning when I started FlossTube. And the first thing I did was I started recording all of my WIPs on a 3x5 card. Now you notice they're different colors. It's a color coding that I came up with. I just decided on what color was going to represent what things. And I have a key that I look at. So if I have something that's summer or spring, it's yellow. If I have something that's a series, it's a different color. If it's a Halloween piece, it's a certain color. And I just do that for fun. It doesn't mean anything. It just, because I got a pack of these cards and they're different colors, and I decided I'm going to put them in categories. And that way, as I get them all in a category, I could actually sort by color, and I could see if I'm stitching all Halloween or all Christmas, or, you know, what am I really lacking in my WIPs as far as if I'm trying to decide what to start next. But I started this because I started FlossTube, and I wanted to be able to talk about my WIPs intelligently, and so I started putting these little cards together. And I just wrote the name of the project, who the designer was, the date I started it, and the fabric that it was on. Because generally when we're talking about a piece, we want to give it credit to the title and designer. And we usually like to identify the fabric. And I just put the start date on there so I could keep track of the age of my WIPs. You know, which ones were my older ones, which ones were new. And I have actually used that for a couple of different reasons. When I got ready to participate in Mania, the first year, brand new process to me. I just started so many things. I think I started 5 things, one every 3 days. The next year, when it came time for Mania, I looked back in my cards and I looked at start date and I pulled out anything that I had started during Mania and I had the date I started it. So I was able to do what I call an anniversary stitch. So on that day in May that year, I stitched on the project that I started on that day the year before. And this is how I kept up with it, because I only keep my current active WIPs in here in this little pack. And I keep it in a little folder. And it doesn't matter what kind of folder you have. This is the one I have. And what I've done every year as I finish, I take my cards, I write the date I finish it, and I file it away. So that's 1 year of finishes right there. And it will tell me what I finished and the date I started and finished it. So if I need to look something up, I can. So I just keep these in this folder. I'm on my 3rd year in here, and you see I've still got plenty of room. So that's how I kind of start my process. And in the beginning, that's all I did. This card. And then I filed them away at the end. And then I could count to see how many finishes I had for the year. And I could, look and see who the designers were. And that's how I was able to tell the year that I tried so many new designers. And I just picked out information for myself to kind of analyze what I was doing. Then time went along, and I decided I wanted to actually keep a stitcher's journal of my finished projects. So I started the cards, and then when I finished something, I had a journal that I wrote in. And I basically recorded the same information that was on the card, but I added additional information that I thought might be meaningful to me down the road. One of the things I did is I wanted to know how many hours approximately that it took me to stitch that. So in order to track that information, I grabbed my old work calendar that was a day timer. It's even got my initials on it from where I used to work. And I took the pages that were just the number each item page. That was a calendar additional page there. And I set up a page for each one of my WIPs. So I have a page in here for each one. So here's Ashley's Roses. Every time I worked on it, I just estimated as best I could the number of hours at the end of each day. I would sit there and say, okay, I started about this time, I took a break for lunch around this time, or I had to go here and do choir practice, and so I only got to stitch 2 hours today or 3 today. Anyway, in the end, I total it up, and Ashley's Roses took me 218 and a half hours, roughly. I don't set a timer. I'm not that exact, but I will tell you, I estimate on the lower end. You know, I really try to be honest about it. I don't want it to inflate the number. So that's just a rough estimate, but it's usually going to be a little bit on the lower side if it's off. So that's how I track hours. This sits right over in my desk drawer next to where I stitch. And so at the end of each day, the last thing I do before I close up shop is I put in my hours. Or if I swap and work on a different project, I'll go ahead and put the hours in for that project so I can start over in my head. Okay, now at 3 o'clock, I started working on this. So that's how I keep track of that. Now, since then, I have gone to different styles of journals. I had a happy planner one year. I had an actual stitcher's journal I bought online, was my first one, and that's kind of what gave me the categories that I wanted to keep my journals. So now I have a planner, and I have gone away from the happy planner only because it took a lot of time to design it, and it was, to me, it was much more of a calendar for appointments and fun things, and I ran out of room for writing on my stitching. It didn't give me the type of room that I wanted for the notes that I wanted to take. So I just went, I still liked the fact that it was on these discs and the pages I could move in and out really easy and I could customize it really well. But I found this at Office Max or Office Depot, I can't remember which. Anyway, it's a Tull, T-U-L, and that's just the brand. You could get any of these binders, I'm sure, and you would be able to do the same thing. So what I have in here is a monthly calendar, and I write down appointments. I write down my plan on what I'm going to stitch, where I have to be somewhere. Like you'll see appointments in here, and you'll see the names of projects. And then you may see a SAL. You just might see something written in that either says like Mirasal or ABC Sal or something, and it's on a date. Well, behind each month is another page that has lines, it's ruled, and it just has each date on it. And that's where I put the details. So in this, at the 1st of January, I've got all these sales that started on the 1st. I have the name of the sale, what Facebook group it's with, and in not parentheses, but in quotes, I've got the name of the project that I was going to stitch for that sale so that I could see when I was working on what. Then, once I have completed a sale, when I have actually participated in it and I know that I've done it, not that I'm planning on it and it may or may not happen, but that I've actually stitched in it, I have a little tab in this planner that says sales. And I write in it the date and what sale and what piece I actually wound up stitching. Then at the end of the year, when I tell you how many sales I participated in, this is how I know. I just count them up. Something that simple. Then when I have a finish, I have a tab that's marked finishes. And you'll notice I write in blue and black. The blue are the categories, and the black is what I've written about that piece. And these categories I've adapted and changed from year to year, but basically they have the design name, the designer, the date I start, how many hours I spent on it, the day I finish it, and any changes that I've made, like changes of colors or bead substitutions, or, I use beads instead of French knots. I also have the fabric count and the name and color of the fabric or type, like Lugana or Joplin or Ada. And then I have a section called how it was finished. And I write in there what I do with it. Did I make it a part of my quilt block? Did I make a flat fold? Did I make an ornament? Did I frame it? Did I make a pillow? And then I have a section called special notes. And I'll write things in there that are meaningful to me about either why I stitched it, what I stitched it for, or who it was for, or anything unique. On Ashley's Roses, my special note was that it was started as a part of 2 sales and it was finished as a part of a sale. And I thought that was an interesting tidbit about that piece that isn't true of all of them. So I captured it. Anyway, that's how I keep track of what I do. I know that many of you are probably saying database or spreadsheet, but I'm in my sewing room and I don't have my computer in here. And so I just as quickly can jot it down and I don't have to worry about it. I know I can't sort and do numbers, all kinds of formulas and that sort of thing with that. And that is something I'll have to decide as I go along. Would that be quicker for me in the long run? And do I want to take the time to set it up and that sort of thing? But in the meantime, I'm capturing everything in my little planner. I keep another section for planning. And right now I've got a list in here of what gifts I'm planning on stitching for next year. And then I've got a list of all my 2019 new starts, my 12 new starts. And you'll see the first one was Let It Snow, and I've already marked on there what day I started it. So I hope to keep track of that, and you know, how many of those did I actually do. And the other thing that I'm trying to keep notes on now is what I do each year for Mania, so that I can switch it up and make it fun and interesting. My first year of Mania, I started 7 things, or 5 things, I think. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Actually, yeah, 8. This is not my first year. This was my second year of Mania. But my first year in Mania, I started 5 things, I remember. And it was one every 3 days. And one of those was Firefly Fairies, and one of them was Sleeping Beauty. So they weren't smalls. They were bigs, or at least some of them were. In 2016, I used those little cards, and I went in and I found anything I had started in Mania the year before that wasn't finished, and it included Firefly Fairies, which I had started on the 1st, and Sleeping Beauty, which I had started on the 12th. So I decided I would make that an anniversary stitch, and I stitched on Firefly Fairies on the 1st, and I stitched on Sleeping Beauty on the 12th, and I decided to do that every year until they were done. So I did that for 2 years. On the other days, I was free to do whatever I had decided. So in 2016 or 2017, I started Christmas ornaments, and I started 8 of them. I had originally thought I would do 7. I wound up doing 8 because it was going so well. And I was finishing them. So they were small enough that I could stitch on them. And then very quickly before the end of Mania, I think I had most of them finished. And I finished them all that year. So this year I've already checked. I don't have anything that would need an anniversary stitch, because now I finished Firefly Fairies. It's up on my wall there. And I finished Sleeping Beauty, and she's hanging in the hall. So now I'm free to do whatever I want. So I thought I'd talk to you about that and get some feedback. I have some ideas I've been tossing around. And a lot of you have too. And it's early, so it's time we can have a conversation about this. But some of you like to do monogamous May, and you pick a project and you stitch on it the whole month. And I'll be honest with you, after stitching Ashley's Roses for 5 straight days, I used to do that on all of my WIPs. My rotation was 5 days. I was so ready for something different. And if it hadn't been that I knew I was going to finish it, and that's why I kept going the extra day, I probably would have switched up because I was fatigued. I was ready. But focusing on a finish that close, I knew I could do it in 1 more day. That was enough motivation, to do that. So I don't think I would want to stitch on something for an entire month, just one thing anymore. So I didn't quite think that would be the best thing to do. So that brings me to, what else do I want to do? Well, I've already got 12 new starts, and 12 new starts for me, these are mostly, long-term projects. They're not 10-year like Hayes, but they may be more than a year to finish them all. And I don't like carrying more than 7 or 8 at a time usually. So why am I even thinking about doing Mania? I could do nothing. I could just work on all my WIPs like I did last year. But the other thought I had was I need some smalls to work on for stitching meetups, travel projects, and things like that I would like to get started. So I went through my kitted projects just to see if I might have something there I could do. And I had a whole lot more of them than I realized. And so there is a potential of doing a smalls Mania where I start something small. And the question is, how many do I want? I did 8 the last time. I'm slowly ratcheting up the numbers if you haven't noticed. Do I want to do 10 this time, or do I want to do what was the original 15, like one a day for 15 days? I don't know. I would love to hear from you what you think. Um, what are your ideas? What are your suggestions? I would love to pour over them and, see if you've thought of something I haven't. So that would be fun. So feel free to share that with me in the comments, if you will. And I hope you enjoyed seeing my planner. I've talked before in my videos about how I plan, how I fill out my month. And I think most of you know that I start with the sales I'm going to do, and I put my projects in the sales I've selected that fit a project that I have. And then I look and see what I have left. And that's easy enough to do with these little cards. You pull out the ones you've got attached to a sale, and what do you have left? And you fill them in on the days that you don't have sales. And then, depending on my mood, I either stitch that or I rearrange it. You notice that this is in pencil, right? Because I change it. I change it frequently. So I just thought that might give you some ideas of how easily you can, do something with your planner or a calendar, and see if it helps you stay organized or be able to share your records at the end of the year. How many finishes you've had, how many new starts you've had. You know, it's easy enough to do if you're interested. And if you're not, that's okay too. Just stitch. Enjoy your stitching. Thanks for letting me take so much time with you today. I just thought, because I was doing all this record keeping after I finished Ashley's Roses, I thought I need to share this. I've enjoyed seeing everyone's planners and their processes and how they, come across what they're going to do. So I thought I'd share it with you. Thanks for letting me do that. Happy stitching. I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel again. Today is Saturday, January 26th, and my name is Dina. Thanks for coming back to my channel again. I would like to share a little bit of news with you today from the stitching meetup that we had at our local library here in Gainesville, Georgia. And then I want to share my latest finish with you. So today we met at the library here in Gainesville, and I am very happy to let you know that we had the largest number of people we've had so far since we've been meeting each month since September. And we had 24 people throughout the day. A couple of ladies were able to come in the morning and stay till about lunch, and then had to go do errands for their work week and things like that. And a couple of other ladies couldn't get here until about lunchtime. So we didn't have all 24 of us there at the same time, but the majority of us were there at the same time. Great fun. One of the fun things about it is today there were some people that had not been there before that got to meet lots of us, and we got to meet them. And one lady had been invited by a regular attender, and she was a crocheter. She had never learned to cross stitch, was interested in it, very much interested in it, but just had never been taught. And so when she came in and asked if we would teach her to cross stitch, we were thrilled and said, of course we'll do that. And today was also a day where we had a dear sweet lady who had contacted me prior to the meetup and had asked if she could come by and bring some of her cross stitch patterns and threads and things like that, because she has some health issues and isn't able to stitch much anymore. She wanted it to go to a good home. So we said, of course you can. And as it turned out, when Donna brought in her things, there were some beginner kits, completely kitted up, in the little packages with the fabric and thread and needle and even a little frame. They were refrigerator magnets or something. And so we grabbed one, and we grabbed several, and we let our new friend Lynn pick one she liked. And one of the ladies who happened to be sitting next to her just started teaching her about cross stitch. And so Lynn started her first cross stitch today at our stitching meetup. And I think the most joyous point in the whole day was when she had finished her first little part of her motif that she was stitching, and she was switching to the next line or next area of it, and she just looked at it and squealed and said, "Oh, it's so cute." It was so fun. It was so fun to hear someone express such joy at learning how to do something they've been wanting to do. And all of us remembered how much fun we had when we first started stitching again, or for the first time. How much fun it is to discover that you can make something. So, Lynn, hang in there if you're watching, and I hope to see you next month at the stitching meetup. Lynn and I made a bargain. I'm trying to learn to crochet, and Lynn is a wonderful crocheter. And so we have swapped information, and we are going to swap off free lessons with each other. So I hope that goes well. We'll let you know how that goes in the future. Well, as you know, I do like to plan ahead, and I do try to kind of stay in front of the curve when it comes to making gifts and things. And so I happen to be updating my calendar, and right after I filmed the segment for this video about Stitch Mania and asked for your input on recommendations for what I should do for Stitch Mania this year, I continued my planning session after that video, just thinking about the two people that I stitch for birthdays and Christmas. And these are two very dear friends of mine, and you have seen me stitch for them the whole time I've been doing my channel. One is my friend Cheryl, who is my Raggedy Ann collector and seller. She has a raggedyland.com if you're interested in Raggedy Ann collectibles. And I always try to stitch her something to do with one of her collections, and Raggedy Ann being the most favored of her collections that she has. And then my friend Stephanie, who I try to always stitch something for as much as possible every year. And so I was planning out what I was going to be doing for them for their birthdays coming up. Cheryl's is in March, and Stephanie's is in April. And I had realized that I had ideas that I've been thinking of for what I wanted to do for their theme and that sort of thing. But I hadn't started anything, and it is almost the end of January, and I need to get on it. So I went through my patterns that I had sort of pulled aside to consider for them this year. And as you know, I have a very detailed, almost, well, it is full coverage. It's a Bob Timberlake piece called Friends, I think is the name of it. And I have it slated to start in March as my March start for my 12 starts this year. And it is for my friend Cheryl. And my hope is that I can get it done in a year so that I can give it to her next March for her birthday. So I thought, what am I going to do for this year? Oh my goodness, I need to get on to something quick. So I knew I needed something I could do fairly quickly that was cute and would add to her collection, and I could put it with something else to give her for her birthday. So this is what I found in my stash. I got this. It's called Old Raggedy Ann, and it says, "I'm just an old Raggedy Ann in a Barbie doll world." My friend would love this. She would love this statement because she's very unpretentious and very down to earth and just not a real fancy person. She's just one of the sweetest people you'd ever want to meet, but just, you know, a regular person. And so this would suit her. She would like this. So I found this, believe it or not, on a freebie table when I was at my stitching retreat in Sevierville this past November, and I grabbed it up. Someone had put it on the freebie table. It came in a little Ziploc plastic bag that a lot of patterns and things come in. And it had a package of goodies with it. It had 2 buttons for the eyes, it had the fabric for the bow, and it had the fabric for the hair as well. Did not have floss, and it didn't have the fabric for the actual stitching, but it did have all of these finishing things with it. So I got this out last night and I got started on it. And I started with the easy part because it's kind of late. Started with my lettering. Now, it didn't have floss with it. So I went into my stash and looked, and I only had one of the called for Gentle Arts sampler threads. So that one was oatmeal, and I pulled it out, and the oatmeal is for the face, back and forth, because it's variegated a little bit. I'm not sure you can see that on the camera, but that's what it's for. I didn't have any of the other colors, not a one. So I just went through my hand-dyed floss, and I picked a color that I felt would go best for this pattern, and I think it worked out pretty well. So this is what I worked on today at my stitching meetup. And I stitched the words until I got down to the very last word, and I ran out of floss that I had with me. And I stitched the face, but I didn't try to do any of the finishing work. So when I got home this evening after dinner with my hubby, I put in the last word and I put on all of the finishing touches. I've gone through my stash and I have a black frame that will fit this perfectly. So tomorrow I will be mounting it on my board, at my mat board, and or foam core board, and I will frame it and I'll have it ready for March. So I'll feel a little better that I've got that part done. Then I can tell you at another time about what I've decided to do for my sister, because I'll start on it next. But this is my finish. I'm just an old Raggedy Ann in a Barbie doll world. And I think she turned out really, really cute. Now her hair, the instructions said that you were to pull it through the fabric. But the fabric called for in this pattern was an 11 count Aida. So I would have had nice roomy holes in there to pull this hair through. This is a 18 count Aida. So what that means is I couldn't get them through. So instead, I just folded them in half and tacked them down, ironed them nice and flat, and then I trimmed them to the length that I wanted. These little hair things, if I can find one here, I'll look. I don't think I have any left over. I think I used them all. They were fairly long. They were about this long. So when I first attached them, they were sticking out way out like this. It looked kind of fun. But I think she turned out rather well. And I think my friend is going to like her. This was just a piece of Aida I had in my stash. I've had it, I'm guessing, over 20 years. But it still looked great, and it was just the perfect size. So that's my latest start and my latest finish. And I just love it. I think she's precious. I'm hoping that stretching will get the rest of this line out, because I have pressed it and pressed it. And this is what happens when you leave your fabric folded for 20 years. You get a line in it. So I'm going to have to stretch it very carefully when I'm trying to pin it and stretch it and make sure I get rid of it as best I can. Anyway, that is my finish, and I'm tickled to death that I got it done. Thank you for letting me share it with you. And I am hoping that I can get back to stitching on what I had planned on stitching at the stitching meetup today, before I realized I needed to get this one done. And that is my January start. I'm going to go back to stitching Let It Snow and try to give it at least another day. Maybe tomorrow I can do that. So that's what I have planned for now. I just want to thank all the ladies, any of you that might watch my channel that came to the stitching meetup today. I want to thank you for having such a great time, being so kind and friendly with all the new people that were there, and for making someone's day, for teaching them how to cross stitch, and making Donna's day as we accepted her generous gifts of her patterns and fabrics and things that she wanted to give away. Thank you for being so caring. I appreciate it so much. And I'm not the least bit surprised, because that's just the way you guys are. But it's so encouraging every time I see it. It just warms my heart. And so I want to thank you for that. And I'll encourage the rest of you, any of you who have an opportunity to go and stitch together. It is a wonderfully uplifting time. There's nothing like getting together with other stitchers and sharing your love of your craft. So if you have a chance to do it, please do. And if you can't do it in person, find somebody you would like to stitch with and ask them to stitch virtually with you. We watch people when they do their Stitch With Me videos, but you can do that live with each other. I do that with several people around the country at different times because we can't get to see each other. And we've met at retreats and we want to stay in touch. So we virtually stitch together on occasion. So I encourage you to do it. I had a wonderful day today. I hope you have, and I'll be back next time for an update, probably to wrap up this video for the month. And as always, happy stitching. Bye. Hello everyone, welcome back. This is Dina, and today is Sunday, and it is the 27th of January. And I am here to show you what I've been working on this afternoon. I've been doing finishing. I took a little bit of a breather after my stitching all day yesterday at the stitching meetup to do a little bit of finishing that I had laying around, because I really wanted to enjoy the finishes at least a couple of days before I moved on to the next month. But I showed you this finish when I finished stitching it yesterday, and I have now fully finished it. Try to get it without some glare, but it's glaring. I apologize for that. But I had this black frame in my stash, and I thought this is a perfect fit. So I measured it, cut my mat board, laced it, and framed it up this morning. So this is ready to be gifted for my friend's birthday. Now, I think it's precious, absolutely precious, and I hope she'll like it. It's just a small thing to sit around. But that means that I have a pattern that I can pass the stash on. If some of you think it's clever and cute and you want to stitch it for someone you know, I'd be happy to pass it along to you. You do need to know that I used the bow and I used the fabric for the hair. So you'd have to supply your own, materials for that little tiny scrap of bow and the hair. And I used buttons for the eyes that were provided, these little tiny baby sized black buttons. If you didn't want to go buy those, in this pattern, they've used French knots. So you could always do that too. This is called for 11 count fabric. This is on 18 count Aida. So this face and everything was not that much smaller. I was able to make it work just fine. So if you would like the Raggedy Ann pattern, please just put in the comments, I'd like to stitch the rag doll. If I have anybody that wants it, I'll be happy to pass it along. If I have more than one person, I'll do the random number generator. But just in case you think this one's cute, like the sentiment myself, then let me know and I'll do a drawing for it. Usual rules apply. Don't say free drawing, don't say prize or anything like that to avoid the trolls. Be 18 or older so that you can legally give me your mailing address. I would prefer you be a subscriber, but I probably won't take the time to check for this. But I'd love to pass the stash if you guys want to spend it. I want to stitch it. The next thing I did was a sweet little finish that I determined how I'm going to display my year of celebrations. I got this little thing at Hobby Lobby. Do not let your heart be troubled. Cute little stand, right? So I put a magnet on the back of it. And I put a magnet on the back of my little finished piece here. So here's my January. And when I'm ready in a few days, here's February. I think it fits perfectly. It has enough space around it so that it looks symmetrical. And I'll just take it off and put it back on. And there you have it. Now, if I decide to get fancier and I put ribbons or bows or anything like that on it, you know, that would be fine too. But I just wanted to share with you how I had determined that I was going to be displaying these. I think they look really cute. They're rustic. They're not meant to be perfect. So we'll just see, you know, how they look. I think I'm going to put them on my mantle in the living room and display them. Hope you like it. Anyway, just wanted to share that with you. That's what I've been working on today. And then I will show you these as I make each one each month, and I'll display it for you and show you what mine looks like. But I just thought that was a cute way to do it. Now, I'm going to be stitching today for what little bit of time I have left. I have a meeting to go to this evening, but I have been working on Let It Snow. I wanted to show you how far I had gotten. I'll take this one end of the Q-snap off so you can actually see it. I'll hold it out a little bit. But I think the last time you saw it, I had stitched up to about right here, maybe. I'm not sure you even saw the house, because I think I did that at a stitching visit that I made with Organic Granny and some friends. So when I got home from the stitching meetup yesterday, this is the piece I had intended to work on before I got sidetracked, realizing I needed to get that birthday present made. So I just went ahead last night and did some stitching on it, and I added the little girl with the scissors. So cute. Anyway, I don't know if I'll have any more time today to stitch on this, but if I do, I'll be happy to share it with you before I upload this. Otherwise, there's only a couple of days left in the month, and so I'm going to be trying to you know, see if I want to work more on this or if I want to pick up one more WIP and get a little bit of a rotation on it. So I'll be happy to share it with you. Thanks for going on this journey with me and letting me show you the things that I work on. I enjoy doing that so much, and I hope that you do too. Happy stitching, everyone. I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Good morning, everyone. This is Dina. Today is Tuesday, January 29th, and I am here to show you what I've been working on the last couple of days. This will be the final segment for this video for the month of January, and I will have to ask my sister Stephanie to go ahead and say goodbye now, because what I'm about to share with you is something for her birthday. And I don't want her to see it yet. So, bye Stephanie, thank you for watching. So, I have decided, as I was doing a planning session, 2 nights ago now, as I told you I was going to do a Raggedy Ann piece for my friend Cheryl, and I had decided what to do for my sister Stephanie. So I decided to pull it out. I kitted it up, and I started it yesterday, and I finished it this morning. It's a Lizzy Kate, and it says, "A sister is a forever friend." Now this is shown as a pillow. I'm not sure that I'm going to make mine into a pillow, but I did get it done, and this is my finish. I think it's lovely. I love the colors. One of my sister's favorite colors is pink, so I'm really tickled that there's a lot of pink in the flowers, on the vase, and in the lettering, and so I signed it in pink as well. This little charm did not come with this. This was actually a pattern I got off the freebie table at one of the retreats in Sevierville, Tennessee. And you'll notice, if you can see it, there's a little heart there that apparently came with the original pattern when it was first opened. So I went to Hobby Lobby and I looked in their charms section, and I found this little heart, and it has little wings across the top, and it looks like it has a little rhinestone or, little stone in there. And as it turns out, my sister's birthstone is diamonds. And this isn't a real diamond, but it is clear like a diamond, and so it sort of speaks to that, hints at it. So I thought, what a perfect heart, because it would even have a simulation of her birthstone in it. So I'm thinking, how do I want to finish this? I don't know yet, but I'm going to measure it out. I think it's going to be close to 5 by 5. So I don't know if I can find a picture frame, a little picture frame that would actually fit, or if I will have to make it into a pillow. I'm not sure, but I think it's precious, and I'm really tickled that I got it done, even before April. I have another piece that I want to do for my sister, and now I can relax just a little bit and breathe a little bit easier because I've got one of the stitches done that I'm going to do for her. And as soon as I start the other one, I'll share it with you too. I hope you guys have had a wonderful month. I want to remind you that I am passing along the Raggedy Ann pattern. If you're interested in it, just say you want to stitch the Raggedy Ann, and I'll put your name in that drawing if there's more than one person who wants it. And otherwise, I will be back in touch with you probably in a couple of weeks, and hopefully we'll have a lot more to show. So happy stitching, everyone, and hope to see you soon, but it may not be before Valentine's Day, so please let me tell you happy Valentine's Day.